All right, folks, what is good? What is good? What is good? This is an extra episode of the First and Frame Rate Show. As promised, I said I was going to bring you an episode today regarding National Signing Day for Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, Coach Clay Helton, the coaching staff, I think they've done an outstanding job of bringing some kids here I'm not even going to call them kids. I call them kids, but then again, these are young men that look like they're going to be ready to be the next great group of Eagles for Georgia Southern. From what I see on this list are a bunch of needs, a bunch of depth, a bunch of quality players that are going to be really good. I want to talk about the 16 guys from high school that are coming in to the program, the 3 guys that are guys that have been to community colleges. We also have some transfers that come through the transfer portal, which we will just talk about, but we won't really go into them as far as what they bring to the table. I'm just going to give you their names or whatever the case may be, because that could be a whole nother episode in itself. Because the 4 guys that have transferred through the transfer portal coming to Georgia Southern are very special guys, and they deserve a whole episode for themselves. But in this extra, we're going to talk about these kids. We're going to go down the list of what they have. The link will be down in the description if you want to go to the Georgia Southern Eagles website and look at these players, and they have their information, all this stuff. I am very, very excited about this. And not only that, I want to talk about Coach Clay Helton once again. I know there's been a lot of talk about what he's been doing, what his intentions were coming to Georgia Southern, a lot of backlash, a lot of hate from that other school in California that we will not name here. But this is year number 2 of what Coach Clay Helton is putting together. And there's no doubt in my mind, this coach wants the best, not only for him, not only for his staff, not only for the program, but for the guys that he bringing in. He's bringing in some nice talent, look like some guys that are going to be difference makers, not only just on the field, but off the field as well. This is just a beautiful thing to see, because last year I thought that the recruiting classes that we had come in and the transfers that came in were like the best that we could get. And it's not a knock on those guys, because those guys are great in their own right, and bringing those guys along with the new guys that are coming in, it's just going to be a beautiful thing. But it just seemed like they're taking another step and they're taking it to another level of like, hey, you ain't seen nothing yet. And these players that are coming in, I don't know what they're going to do, but based on what I see on paper, it looks like they have the right guys to come in here to bring the right recruits in to make something happen. From a 3-win season that we had before Coach Clay Helton come in to a 6-win season. And if this thing goes the way it's going, we're going to be seeing you in double-digit wins. And I'm not joking. I know I said we should have had 8-4 last year, but no. Now, I'm not making no prediction, but this has a recipe to be a championship caliber team. I mean, just win significant championships when it comes to the Sun Belt and whatever bowl that we getting into. And I'm just talking about not just with these kids that are coming along from high school, but the transfers as well. Now, I done said enough. I don't want to, just keep going back and forth with that. Let's talk about some of these kids. Going in order that it is on the website. Once again, the link will be down in the description. And let's go ahead and get into this. Alex Smith, punter from Melbourne. Is it Melbourne? No, I'm sorry. From Richmond, Australia. Pro Kick Australia. This is a program that brings punters from Australia to the United States. They brought in punter Cameron Johnston, that played for the Houston Texans. Mitch Wisnowski, that played at Utah. Michael Dixon from Texas. He's the number 9th. Alex Smith is the number 9th ranked punter in the class of 2022. He's the number 5 punter in Australia. according to 24/7 Sports, was committed to Vanderbilt in 2022, but he decided to come to Georgia Southern. Played tennis at one point. This guy's an athlete. And he backed off from tennis when COVID hit and started training to be a punter. That's one wild transition, right? But nevertheless, he's an Eagle now. And he's going to continue to bring on that legacy that we had with our previous punter. And I think he's going to be nice, 6'6", 215. So we started out the gate with the punter. The next person that was signed was Jaden McCall, tight end, 6'4", 230, out of Niceville, Florida, with the Niceville High School. As a senior, he had 14 catches for 158 yards and a touchdown. He was rated number 90 as a tight end by 24/7 Sports. Now, I don't think the ratings, for the most part, don't mean anything. It's about the type of player that you bring in and what they could do in your scheme. And we knew that we needed tight ends. Love J.J. McCaffrey. He did very well for us, but we didn't have enough, tight ends out there on the field. And I know we have some that were capable of doing some things. A couple of guys were injured, whatever the case may be. But now we're going to talk about how many tight ends that we got in. As of right now, we got 2 that's coming from high school, and we got another one that's transferring in. We'll talk about that at a later time. But Jaden McCall coming in from Niceville, Florida. This guy looks like a stud. I've seen what he can do, but I want to see what he will be able to do in this air raid offense. Speaking of the air raid offense, the next person that signed was KD Dorsey. What a football name, KD Dorsey. 6'3", 195, Hesbodiah, Georgia, Evans High School. I think he went to the same high school that Derek Canteen went to. Isn't that very interesting? Nevertheless, 6'3", 195. Listen to Coach Clay Helton talk about this kid. Physical receiver. You want a guy that can go up and get the ball, get some jump balls out of some of these DBs that are out there. Seems like he's going to be that guy to do it. First team all-region and 2-6A grouping. Had 37 catches for 553 yards. Selected to play at the Border Bowl X for Team Georgia. He was landed on the Augusta Chronicle Dream 16 preseason of 2022. Caught 4 touchdowns as a junior. And he was rated 303 wide receiver in the country and 197 player in the state. I think those numbers might be a little bit too low. I think this kid's going to be special. You put a kid in a position to be successful with the offense like this, and you got this size. This is something that we've been wanting ever since we started hearing about this offense. Now, we do have some receivers that done very well for themselves. You talk about jump balls. Look at a guy like a Derwin Burgess. You look at a guy like Sam Kennerson, who's coming back. We're going to have some real good talent on this field. But let's continue to keep going. Next person that was signed was an offensive lineman. We already know that we had a pretty good offensive lineman. We just getting bigger and physical and nastier on that offensive line. Chris Carter, 6'7", 300 pounds, from Atlanta, Georgia. Mays High School, went to Garden City Community College. He also played defensive end, which is really interesting. Decided to transfer to Georgia Southern. I want to see what this kid can do on this offensive line at 6'7", 300 pounds. Like, who's going to get through that? Who's going to get through this line? That's what I want to know. Because you already had problems getting through the line beforehand. So that's going to be really, really cool to see another guy that's going to be up on that line actually making a difference. So that's going to be pretty awesome to see. Next person is one guy that's coming from my hometown, Elijah Lacey, Savannah, Georgia. That's where I was born and raised. 6'5", 220. He's going to be on the defensive line. And that defensive line is going to get some help because we're losing Justin Ellis. We're losing Dylan Springer. And we need some guys on that line. So once again, it goes back to what I'm saying. We get a lot of depth and we get a lot of quality. 37 total tackles, 3 for loss as a senior. Had a 37-yard touchdown catch as a tight end. Keep that in mind. I doubt if this could be the case, but keep that in mind. Was a member of WJCL's Big 22 team. It's good to have a guy that's going to stay in at home, basically. Statesboro, all he has to do, he was at New Hampstead High School, which is, I think it's in, I want to say it's in Bloomingdale. It's not too far outside of Savannah. Nevertheless, just take Highway 80 and then take it straight into the Statesboro, and you're right there. And so he's right at home, 40 minutes 45 minutes up the road, it's good to see homegrown talent staying in, and it looks like he's going to be able to make a difference right away, hopefully. Because I don't know, like I said, I don't know how coach and the staff is going to do with some of these younger players. A lot of these players got playing time later, like a Latrell Bullard. You got a couple other guys who played later. I don't know if they're going to make an impact right away. But either way, you're dealing with the defense like Will Harris, and you have the defense that you're bringing in your defensive guys that are going to be able to learn the system out the gate instead of transitioning from another defense that most of the guys that were used to last year. Is going to be, this is where you're going to see what this coaching staff is about. Yes, you can bring in nice players. Now, can you get these players to buy in what you're doing? Offensively, with Brian Ellis and company, no brainer. I already seen it. Defensively, that's where Will's have a little bit of issues at. We did step up at some crucial moments, but for the most part, we need a defense that's really going to be solid throughout the season, and this is where it starts. One of the first guys that we did pick up defensively on Georgia Southern. Next person that we're going to be talking about is another offensive lineman, Bryson Norris, coming from Coffeyville Community College. And I think it says CC, so I'm taking it as community college. Played, I think this was in the Kansas area, or whatever the case may be. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not good with locations or names. But he was from Crestview, Florida. And I heard from Coach that he's also, I think he's from Georgia. In 2019, he did go to South Alabama, but he didn't see any playing that time. He was redshirted. So he was in the Sun Belt, got a little bit of taste of the Sun Belt by watching what's going on, went to Coffeyville, and he's back in the Sun Belt as a Georgia Southern Eagle. 3-time All-Area selection at Crestview High, earning first-team All-State recognition in his final year. Prior to the start of his senior season, he was named the Northwest Florida Daily News Dandy Dozen team. I don't know, that just sounds so cool, Dandy Dozen. Helped the Bulldogs post a 10-3 overall mark and advance to the semifinals of the state 6A playoffs. I think this guy's going to be pretty nice. Helped the team to gain over 2,700 yards in rushing in 2018. Look, I don't know how much we're going to run the ball, but I know we do run the ball efficiently. But if he's anywhere near to a guy that can actually help with the run game, it's always a plus because we do have some hogs back there that could run the ball. So that's going to be really cool, and to have a guy that could do a little mix of both because he's going to learn how to pass protect. And I'm pretty sure he knows how to pass protect, but that's one thing he's going to learn, how to pass protect in his offense. Nevertheless, let's jump back to the running game. If he was able to help the team gain over 2,700 yards, we have a running back that's coming in from Hartsville, South Carolina. Jay-Sean Anderson, 6', 190. I listened to Coach Clay Helton. Clay Helton said that this kid can run between the tackles, run on the outside, and catch out the backfield. That sounds very similar to O.J. Arnold. So now you're starting to see the type of running backs that we're probably going to end up getting throughout, Coach Clay Helton's tenure here at Georgia Southern. Going to get more of a balanced type of running back. Like, with Gerald Green, what kind of running back he was getting. This kid can run between the tackles. He's pretty fast. He was like that balance that you're looking for. And you also know that Jalen White is a thumper. The dude will run you over. But one thing about Jalen White that was really, really significant, he can catch out the backfield as well. But then you brought O.J. Arnold in who could do a little bit of everything. You can punt return, kick return, catch out he can line up a wide receiver. He can run between the tackles. He's looking really good. And you're bringing the Jay-Sean Anderson that can pretty much mimic what he can do. 6', 190. Now don't get it twisted. This kid got some weight to him. At 6', 190, you got some size to you. So he could put on maybe another 10 to 15 pounds. We may have a really nice looking running back as far as Jay-Sean Anderson. Now, looking at his numbers, he rushed for over 1,400 yards, 23 touchdowns. He also had 23 receptions for 282 yards and 2 scores. Class 4A Region 6 Offensive Player of the Year as a senior. Also a member of the 2022 ABC 15 All-Zone team. Named to the 2022 Touchstone Energy North and South All-Star Bowl game. All-region selection 3 times, ranked 102 in running back in the country and named the 31 player in the state of South Carolina, according to ESPN Recruiting. I am very, very shocked that we got this kid. And I'm serious because, first and foremost, yes, I understand South Carolina is right across the border from Georgia Southern. It's not that far, but I don't know how many how many schools were trying to go after this kid, but for us to get him, that is amazing. That is really good because I know that he's going to do well in this offense. He's going to do well with what we're doing. And it's just awesome. It just goes back to show you what this offense, not this offense, but what the staff is doing as far as bringing players in. This is just a flat out awesome. Awesome. Jumping to the next person that we picked up was Aiden Jackson. Aiden Jackson, defensive back, 5'11", 185 from Marietta, Georgia, Walton High School. Now look, I've heard a lot of stuff about this kid. It don't say much here on the screen about him, but I heard that this kid is really good. And when you're looking at defensive backs and what we lost with Derek Canteen, and we got a couple other guys that are still around, we still needed some depth. You can't have enough defensive backs, especially in a league like the Sun Belt. You cannot have enough. So with bringing a guy like him in, and for him to be first all-region selection in the 5'7" classification as a wide receiver, you also got a guy who can probably return kicks as well. So this is another really good special player, or a guy that you can use him in different ways that has a lot in his toolbox that can actually be productive in various ways. So this is going to be interesting. He's thinking about it. For what he could do, he could catch, he could play defensive back, he can return punts and kicks. It's kind of reminding me of the defensive back version of O.J. Arnold. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he plays out and how that goes. Back to the offensive line, we're going to be talking about from Appleton, Georgia, Harlem High School, Matthew Williams, 6'5", 300 pounds. Another guy that's on the offensive line. He was the Region 4-3A Player of the Year as offensive and defensive lineman. Selected to play at the Border Bowl X for Team Georgia. That's really interesting that he could play both sides of the ball. You don't find too many linemen that can do that. Usually the offensive lineman may go out to play a little bit of tight end, or they end up being like a long snapper, which is almost the same thing. And most time when you see defensive linemen, you pretty much see them do the same thing. End up being a tight end, or they end up going at linebacker or something like that. You don't really hear too many guys who can play both sides of the ball in the trenches like that. That is very, very interesting. So we're going to keep an eye on him down the road as well. Next one was another offensive lineman from Fleming Island, Florida. Fleming Island High School, Ethan Williams, 6'3", 290 pounds. Named to the Clay County Coaches All-County Football Team, first team as a senior. Don't have much information on him, but like I said, you cannot have enough depth when it comes to the actual offensive line. You can't have enough depth when it comes to people in general. So this is something that you would want to have in your arsenal. Just have the depth and quality players too. So if you're starting to get named to all football teams or all county, all state, all city teams, you're doing something right at the position. We're going back to the defensive line. We got Jacob Ferguson here, defensive lineman, 6'4", 245 from Troy, Missouri. Troy Buchanan, Iowa Western Community College. Had 2.5 sacks in 5 games at Iowa Western. That's actually pretty good. You got 2.5 sacks in 5 games. It's not bad at all. Enrolled in Georgia Southern in January. Attended Northern Iowa redshirted in high school. 2-time All-Conference honoree who also earned All-District honors in 2018-2019. Racked up 46 tackles, 6 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, along with 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries as a touchdown. 3-sport athlete with letters in football, wrestling, track, and field. So I think this guy is going to be pretty good. I don't talk much about the Discord. Go down there and go to the Discord and join. We talk all Georgia Southern, a little bit Atlanta Falcons, and all a little bit of everything over there. But I wanted to give a shout out, and I should have done this earlier, which I will start doing this more often. I was going to give a shout out to the guys in the Discord. These guys have been phenomenal with giving out information, talking about information, putting stuff out there so people can understand what's going on. If you really want to know what's been going on with the recruiting, to be honest with you, that's one of the best places to be. First and Frame Rate's Discord. That link will be down in the description. Nevertheless, let's keep it moving. Jacob Ferguson, I heard a lot about him. I think this guy's going to be really nice once again on that defensive line. We need some help on the defensive line after we lost Springer and Ellis. So it's going to be really interesting where he fits in as well because he has experience. He's not like necessarily a high school player coming right in. He's played a year or he's played a few games in college already. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with him. Now, with all the quarterbacks we got, we did lose one, Kyle Vantrease. Shout out to him for a phenomenal season in turning Georgia Southern to a passing offense because we was run first forever. So we lost him, but we picked up another one. Kobe Walton, Knowles, Tennessee, Knowlesville High School, 6'1", 185. The Region 6-5A Offensive Player of the Year. Completed 202 of 328 for 3,047 yards, 31 touchdowns as a senior. Threw for more than 3,000 yards and 32 touchdowns and just 6 interceptions as a senior. Rated the number 85 quarterback in the country and the 33 player in the state of Tennessee. Ranked number 86 in the country and 59 player in the state of Tennessee by 24/7 Sports. The other one was by On3, so I kind of had that mixed up. Sorry about that. Nevertheless, I don't know what we're going to do at quarterback. I know there's been rumbling saying that we're going to bring a quarterback in as a transfer. We may do that because between now and February is all free game. And some of these quarterbacks don't have a home yet. So I would not be surprised if we end up getting a quarterback then. But I do understand what we have. I like what we have already. But if we do bring one in, I get it. I don't know what's going to happen with Kobe Walton, but I think he is going to be a guy that's going to continue to battle with the rest of the guys for the top spot to be QB1. To be honest with you, it's almost pretty much wide open right now. I'm betting on Colton Fitzgerald, but it could be wide open, so you never know. Going back to defense, Braden Palmer, I heard a lot about this kid, 6'4", 215, Charlotte, North Carolina. Hogue, I think this is Hogue High School. Named all conference as junior at Chambers High. Recorded 40 tackles, 9 for loss, and 4 sacks as a junior. Ranked 40th player in the state by North Carolina by Rivals. So this is a really good pickup to go that far out of our radius, which is mostly Georgia and Florida, to get somebody up there in North Carolina. I shouldn't be talking about a radius. We just got a punter from Australia. So, what am I talking about? But that's going to be another pickup on the offensive line defensive line that we need. So we got depth. We got a lot of depth over there. We have a lot of depth at wide receiver as well, but we have another wide receiver coming in from the Atlanta, Georgia area. I've heard a lot about this kid, DeAndre Buchanan. I heard this guy could be a star, and being in this offense, everybody that played wide receiver is going to eat. They're going to get their shine. I promise you that you will. You can just ask the guys that we had this year. Everybody's going to shine. And DeAndre Buchanan, 5'11", 175 out of Carver Atlanta High School. I heard this guy got some speed on him. He could catch. Preseason All-State selection. Caught 70 passes for 866 yards, 7 touchdowns as a senior. As a junior, recorded 1,000 yards all-purpose and 9 touchdowns as a receiver and a returner. So now you're talking about a kid that could probably return punts and kickoff returns as well. So you got another versatile player that's going to be doing something really nice. Really interesting to see if he gets playing time already, because you got a lot of guys. You got a lot of guys that are actually out here doing their thing for Georgia Southern at the wide receiver position. I wouldn't be surprised if he end up getting rotated in and out of the wide receiver rotation. Troy Pikes, defensive lineman out of Atlanta, Georgia, Mays High School. Another guy named 6'4", 300 pounds out of Atlanta, Georgia. Named first team all region, 5'5" grouping. Rated 207 as defensive lineman in the country and 186 player state by On3 and 191 player in the state of Georgia by 24/7 Sports. So what we have here is another guy that's going to be on that defensive line. Big guy, 6'4", 300. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's probably going to be an anchor interior lineman. And, we can still use that ever since, we've been having, what's his name? Wright, not Logan Wright, but the other Wright that played up in the middle, and then you had guys like Christian Varner coming in, and now you got Troy Pikes right behind him. You're going to have some more guys that's going to be really physical with that size in that area. So another big pickup for Coach Will Harris, and it's just going to continue to look good. Next person, Robert Wright, offensive lineman, 6'4", 285, out of Stockbridge, Georgia, Stockbridge High School. Another person out of that Atlanta area. First team all-region selection as a senior for the Group 5 4A classification. Just more depth. We're going to get some more guys that's going to be a part of the offensive line. And like I said, that offensive line from last year, if they're going to continue to build off that, nobody's getting through that line. So whoever the quarterback is, you're going to be well protected. You're going to be well protected. So don't worry. No worries at all. And if the quarterback going to be protected, he should be able to throw to our receivers. And we just got another tight end, Elijah Walton, 6'6", 220, out of Ocala, Florida, North Marion High School. As a senior, had 22 catches for 537. That is a pretty big ratio right there. 22 catches for 537. So that means he's been stretching the field a little bit. 8 touchdowns. Named to the FACA All-District 17 team as a member. Rated as the 104 tight end in the country. 260 player in the state by On3. Ranked at 102 tight end in the country and 202 as a player of the state of Florida. So we got a pretty good athlete right there. Pretty good guy that's going to be playing tight end. And with him and Jaden McKyle, we're starting to, like I said, get some more tight ends out there, and we're going to see how that goes. Last but definitely not least in this signing class, the last guy that signed today was Kabaseka, defensive lineman, 6'4", 240, out of Lithia Springs. I've heard a lot about this guy. I heard that he's going to be really nice for this team. Another guy on the defensive line, along with Troy Pikes and others that have been recruited and committed. Named first team all-region, 5-5A grouping, named first team all-region selection for the 5-5A grouping, ranked the 109 defensive lineman in the country, 164 player in the state, rated as 192 defensive lineman in the country, and 185 by On3. So that's what we got right now. I'm pretty sure we're going to get more people, but if you listen to all that I've done for the past 27 minutes, we got some very special guys. Now, I'm going to mention the 4 guys that we got from the transfer portal. From what I've heard, Coach Clay Helton is basically saying that those guys are going to be, they already announced on Twitter, all 4 of them, but I guess it's going to be official once, the beginning of the year, once school starts back. So the guys that you have, Cameron Williams from University of Washington to Georgia Southern. I think I talked about that on my last episode. You got a safety that is familiar with Coach Will Harris is going to be here. Jalen Barton, wide receiver from Pitt to Georgia Southern. This is a guy who caught passes from Kenny Pickett, the guy who's in the Steelers starting quarterback right now. He's going to be here to go along with his air raid offense. And if you looked at his Twitter, he was like, look, this is the team with the most second passing yards in the country. Why not fit? Why not come to Georgia Southern way of fit? Now, that's paraphrasing. That's not what he said, but you go to his Twitter and check it out. But that's basically how he felt about coming here. Now, also, a big tight end. Third tight end that we picked up. Keaton Upshaw from Kentucky, 6'7". I think he's like 230 pounds, somewhere around there. Big tight end that's going to be coming in from Kentucky to Georgia Southern. Look, with what we already have with Elijah Walton and Jaden McKyle, these tight ends are going to be something serious. Along with all the other the receiving weapons that we have, we're going to be a problem when it comes to guys defending this team. So that is, excellent pickup come from the SEC down to Georgia Southern. And last but not least, Devon Ferguson from Bowling Green to Georgia Southern. Now, he's going to be playing probably nickel or safety. I think he's going to be playing safety. If you've seen this kid highlight reel, this guy looked really, really good at what he's done. I have it on my Twitter. If you can follow me on VF Baller, you can go look. Devon Ferguson is a guy that we definitely need in the secondary. So between him and the couple other guys we already have, and then you got Aiden Jackson coming in at defensive back, I hate it. I hate to see, Derek Canteen leave us for the transfer portal. But at the same time, that's just the way of the business. And for us to get guys that are coming in that's going to be not only just replacing, but actually, making their own name out the gate and the blue and white is going to be great. So those are the 4 guys that I talked about that are transfers. But I'm going to actually do a whole episode on them. And that's just pretty much going to be it, because I think speaking of the transfer is going to talk a lot about, what the bigger, not going to say the bigger picture, but another lens to what this staff is doing. Because you see what they're doing on the recruiting side with high schoolers and some guys that come from JUCO transfers. And you see what they're able to do there, keeping guys in-house from Georgia, Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, in this little area, and picking up amazing talent in this area. But then when you see guys that are coming from other schools, bigger schools, or schools that that you would never guess that we had any ties to, that are coming down to want to play for this program and what we're doing, it says a lot about what we're building here at Georgia Southern. So I'm going to do a whole other video on those guys and anything else that comes from those, any extra guys that we're going to talk about. Because I've also heard that we have a linebacker that's coming in that is not listed here, but I heard Coach Clay Helton talk about in his press conference. But we will try to get more information about that as well. So be on the lookout for that episode, and continue to follow us for what we're doing over here. Not only just on this show, but on the Discord, because Georgia Southern is rising from 3 wins to 6 wins to 6 wins to maybe 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know, but this is how you make it happen. You bring in a culture, you're bringing the guys to buy into the culture, and you make sure these guys are in the best position to execute. Hopefully we'll get that done, and we'll see how it plays out. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Look, this is an extra episode, signing day recap. Let me know what you guys think. Are you guys hype? I'm hype. I love what I see here. I just cannot wait to see what happens when spring comes and we see all this other stuff going on. When the practice come in, I'm going to try to do my best to be a part of all of this and get first hand and first visuals on all of this stuff. So hopefully you guys will continue to watch and listen. I am on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Also, I'm on YouTube and Rumble. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. This has been a pretty long episode, but it was all worth it. You guys take it easy. You guys be blessed. Peace.